All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Rev Show. Today's really exciting. We are joined by some very special guests. I'll bring them on now. We've got Stefan Walter, who is the product director of Formula E High Voltage. We've got Kieran Holmes Darby, who is the gaming director of Formula E, and David Costello, who is the senior game designer at Amber Studios. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Matt.
Much.
Yeah, no, really cool to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Right. So, for those who have been following us along this kind of journey over the last couple of years with Formula E High Voltage, we have some new faces, and I think faces that you guys have probably haven't seen before. So I'm going to introduce you now to Stefan Walter, who is the, like I said, product director. And I believe, Stefan, this is the first time you are meeting or at least speaking in front of the community. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Will do so. Thank you, Matt. So as you say, Stefan, my name, located in Germany, and joined Animoca 6 months back, but doing basically games development for the past 15 years, mainly Web 2 for the past 14 years. I moved into this crazy blockchain space last year, and then tried to do some strategy games in there, and now like with Animoca on Formula E and trying to make this game one great success together with the guys that you can also see here today that you invited, and for sure with the big teams behind. So yeah, a lot of Web2 product development experience in the past 1.5 decades, and now want to ship that over to blockchain and games development, since I do believe that those Web2, Web3 stuff do need to go hand in hand together to make basically great games. And I think like blockchain and Web3, they do have a lot of things that they offer in addition to Web2, and those things should be combined to create awesome products.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks for that introduction, and welcome to the team. I guess it's super cool to have you here, and it's great that you're leading the charge. I want to throw it over to David, who's the senior game designer at Amber Studios, the team that have been building the game Formula E High Voltage. David?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm in here since day one on development. We are almost crossing the 1.5 year mark on making this game. My work has been basically helping drive the vision of the project across the whole development cycle, helping Stefan and the team making sure that the game is up to standards, and it's basically what you guys are expecting to see once it's released. I'm also a really big advocate for Web3 decentralization. I think it's a really good new challenge ahead in technology. Looking forward to keep exploring it on different projects, and especially right now, looking forward for you guys to see how the game is going to look and how you will feel basically the whole experience. So having fun developing, having fun answering your questions, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, no, happy to be hearing you from the first, for the first time. And yeah, I think we've got some footage to show people later on, so excited to do that. Kieran, over to you now. Man from Formula E, with a background in esports as well. Welcome to the show, and yeah, love to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Just firstly, it's very cool to have people like Stefan and David working on this project who are extremely smart and are doing some great things. So yeah, I come from the brand side, obviously representing Formula E. Came into Formula E a couple of seasons ago, so just before season 8, and we've just finished season 9, with the remit to sort of revamp everything we're doing from a gaming perspective, or kind of broadly a digital marketing perspective. And quite early on, was sort of handed the high voltage project, and have been working with the team over those past 2 seasons to get it into a place that we think is going to land well with the community, and ultimately be a great game to play. So I'm very excited for it to come out.
So am I. So am I. And it's not every day you get someone from Formula E on the Rev Show. So yeah, awesome to have you. So cool. Jumping into some questions then. I'm sure there are some burning questions from the community. We've got actually some comments from what saying go Formula E. I agree. I will second that message. So yeah, Stefan, questions for you being the boss man here on the project. You've been, like you said, with Animoca now and Rev for 6 months, and you're the man in charge. Can you tell us more about the development, how things are going? And I guess first of all, what kind of game is it?
Okay, so let's start with first of all, right? What kind of game is it? It's basically a sports manager game. How you would expect it from a manager game. So you're setting up your team, which consists of basically what you take into the game to drivers and to cars, and you try to basically create the best setup for the racetracks that you are driving. So we have different racetracks in game. They do contain different conditions, and those conditions are basically like met and ignited by those characters that you bring, which is drivers and cars. So some cars are good on track A, but not on track B, and the other way around. The same goes for drivers. So that's basically the setup that you have. You have certain things that you want to go for. So you need to optimize your team for the conditions that you're facing. Which is pretty much like a sports manager game. So you do the same in soccer, you do the same in basketball, similar games. And so those learnings that you would normally apply as a user, as a gamer to those kind of games, you can definitely take into Formula E and say, okay, cool. Those criteria and those conditions I have to meet, and hence I'm setting up my cool team. How's the development going? It's good, right? The release is just around the corner. Which is amazing. As David said, there has been like 18 months of work being put already into the product, which is substantial. So there's quite a bit of stuff there. I'm always excited to see it and to get the latest updates, and especially in the Web3 space, right? It's a brand new product. Working together with Formula E is super cool. So there's this kind of brand behind it, and this excitement about what Formula E makes Formula E. And so yeah, it's coming along nicely. Busy right now, right? How those kind of projects are briefly before the release, but definitely fun.
Yeah, super cool. I can't wait for people to see. I'm getting itchy fingers. I'm like very close to pressing that button a few times. But so like David said, like it's been a while. It's been a long time coming, right? It's been a year and a half development. But it's there's been a lot of kind of chat in the community. But I understand it's it's more or less around the corner. And NFTs play a big part in the core gameplay. So can you tell us more about that, and what kind of NFTs are they? Are they cars? Are they drivers? Kind of what format are they going to be in as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I said it in my intro a little bit. So coming from the Web2 space, there's a lot of these free-to-play elements, right? So the easy onboarding, which is something that is always worth discussing in Web3, right? It's something that everyone aims for. How can we onboard those people that do not want to talk about wallets and NFTs and blockchains and all this kind of stuff most easily? So that's something that is the technical layer we want to take care of in a way that everyone understands what has to be done. But at the same time, provide basically everyone with a set of drivers and cars to start playing directly for free. So that's something that we will do, right? So if you go into the game as someone who doesn't want to get like financially involved, similar to free-to-play, you can start experiencing the game, and we can start digging into it, figuring it out, and then if you feel like, wow, this is cool stuff, I want to go a level deeper, then you can basically start buying your drivers and cars. So yes, we have drivers and cars for the release of the game. And as it's basically your main core assets to actually play it, right? Because it's this miniature game. But later on, we also will have additional things that you could buy to improve your game experience, right? It's currently, and there has been in discussion what those will be, and will be released soon as well. But let's start with drivers and cars. And as usual, there's like different layers to it, and I think David will go into that later.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think what I really picked up there is the fact that there's a big free to play element. I know with with Web3 and currently how the how the market is, and how the if you look at all the games that are out there, a lot of them have kind of high barriers to entry. Having to pay X amount in order to actually play the game. But I love the fact that here we're giving players a starter bundle essentially that they can just go out and run with. So That's awesome. And you're right. That was a great segue into David, going into talking about how these NFTs really kind of work into the game. And so, how will these NFTs, integrate with the game? How do they actually work within the game itself? And for example, rarity. I know that's something that is constantly discussed when looking at digital assets. How does that come into play here, in terms of the game?
Yeah, it's been really interesting for us to explore this, especially as game designers, looking into how to reduce the entry-level barrier for Web2 people, but at the same time engage with expectations and the new fun, right, of Web3. So this is not my first Web3 project. I have worked on other ones that I'm not allowed to talk about because NDAs. But what we can explore a little bit more in how the actual tokens are laid out is that, yes, they have rarities. They have basically rarity based on utility, meaning that if you have a rare token, it's because it's a good token for the game. But at the same time, we want to keep the game fair and true for everyone, meaning that we're working really hard to make sure that the balance is on point. And that's something that we are basically taking out right now from the Web3 layer, meaning that the token is yours, the token is going to be always yours, and the rarity is always going to be there, but we are handling the balance outside of the project, outside of the layer of Web3. So to go a little bit more in depth with this topic, basically we have drivers and cars. A traditional race is composed of 2 drivers and 2 cars that then create a full team, right? In the sport, there are 11 teams for season 9. That's the season that we are going to release with. But we introduce another 11 teams that we call fantasy teams. So basically, you have a mixture of real teams and fantasy teams. And the whole idea is that, of course, real drivers and real cars will have a higher rarity than fantasy teams and drivers. The goal here is that each token, each driver will have 6 attributes. Let me read through those because it's like my cheat sheet that I have here. So basically, the drivers will have focus, cornering, overtake, defend, battery management, and handling. Each attribute will have points between 100 points to 1,000 points. They are divided basically in rarities. Obviously, the higher the points, the higher or the better the token is going to be in game. What we are doing is reserving the lower tiers, meaning from 100 points to around 600 points for fantasy drivers and cars, and from 600 up to 1,000 to real teams. The whole idea when you buy the actual collection is that you could get, a mixture between drivers and cars that are from the real teams and for the fantasy teams. And for the cars, we have another 6 attributes. We are trying to keep this symmetrical, where you have top speed, acceleration, braking, energy consumption, responsiveness, and energy regeneration, again with the same distribution of points. The idea behind this is that each car and driver works in tandem to actually delimit the performance of the actual team, right? If you have a really good car with a lot of responsiveness, but you have a driver that is not as well or as versatile in handling, basically that driver is not exploiting the best capabilities, right, of their car. So the whole idea here is kind of the strategy behind actually jumping into the race. That's what we want to encourage players to actually start doing, right? Like trying to figure out the best combinations between drivers and cars for different elements or aspects of the race. On top of that part of the rarity that basically governs the majority of the game, we have a little bit of traits that delimit a little bit more of the personality, if you will, of the token. So for drivers, we have personalities that for now are only 3. We have a neutral personality, conservative, and aggressive. That delimits how the actual driver is going to behave depending on the speed and the stats that are happening during the race, right? Like an aggressive driver will try to overtake more. And a neutral driver is going to be, half and half. And a conservative driver is going to prioritize defending their position rather than trying to overtake. So this opens a lot of possibilities on the way we want players to engage with different strategies. So maybe you have a really good driver that is really good at defense and it has like a conservative personality, and you are going to use that driver as a blocker, right? So you are not expecting that driver to get, the first position. You want that driver to protect the other driver, because at the end, what we want is the team to compete, right? So that's why we have two drivers and two cars. So you could have one driver that is basically protecting the other and allowing the other to actually succeed and get more positions on the race. That's kind of the same for cars. We are calling the personality of the car, basically, quote unquote, the performance curve, and it's basically the same. You will have a car that could have a neutral performance curve, conservative or aggressive, is kind of the same. A car that has an aggressive curve will perform better in aggressive moments, overtaking, taking attack zones, engaging or triggering the attack boost. And it will depend a lot on the way the players want to engage with the different tokens. On top of that, we have two basically wild cards, if you will, for design. This is something that we explore a lot. So we decided to diverge a little bit from the super close to reality simulation. We are more in, in this disbelief or suspense of disbelief moment where players can feel that they are playing, of course, Formula E, but at the same time, they're playing a game. So what we did is we have synergies that we call gem synergies. Each token will have one of these synergies, and the whole idea is that if you have one driver and one car with the same synergy, you will have some boosts. Synergies are also in the rarity pool, meaning that there are some synergies that are more common than others. So this will give you a lot of boosters and of different combinations. Like maybe you have your favorite driver and your favorite car, but the synergies are not the best. So you are basically exploring the marketplace or exploring other players, tokens to see if you can find actually the driver or the car that you want to actually create that dream, right? And the last element that each token will have is a preferred weather. Basically, right now we have 6 weathers without basically counting non-weather. Then non-weather is basically temperate or ideal. We have sunny, wet, rainy, and foggy. We are expecting to expand the rooster in the future, but for now, those are the weathers that we are handling. For example, sunny means that there is more heat in the environment, it's more hot. And because of that, the battery will deplete faster, right? Wet basically is involving a little bit more of the handling of the car. Rainy is more into the actual focus of the driver because it's hard for the driver to actually see during rain. And foggy is basically the hardest of the different weathers. So what happens with the preferred weather is that basically each weather will have like a debuff on cars and drivers. But if it's your preferred weather, your debuff will be lesser, right? So you could have a driver, a car that will succeed on a foggy environment that is really hard for others. For the development or for the first release of the game, we're going to deploy basically fixed races with around 5-minute marks of experiences. Each race will have a fixed weather. The whole idea is that you will see the race in front of you and you will decide, okay, what's the best thing for me to engage on this race? After that race is over, we will, roll another one, and the weather is going to be different. During development, in future releases, we want a more dynamic system. Basically, we want to hear from you guys how you feel the game, how you feel like these iterations, so we can, start creating more on top of what we have right now. And basically, this is like a quick overview of the rarity, utility-based rarity, if we want to call it like that, and the different attributes that you will find on your tokens.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot to take
It's
in
a
there,
lot, I
for
know.
sure. But don't worry. I'm sure it will be on the website if it isn't already.
Yes.
You guys can go to formulaehighvoltage.com right now. Maybe not right now. Maybe later after this show. And check it out. All the details will be there. But I love that. I love the fact that, there are so many things that have been taken into consideration when developing this game, from the fact that you've got driver personalities and car traits and synergies and weather. I think there's so many different things a player has to look out for when really crafting their teams, whether it's, picking their, there's obviously one thing, picking your favorite driver, and if Rene Rast is watching this, go Rene. But obviously, Jake Dennis was the champion, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to be, trying to buy his cards and but like you said, it not necessarily, for example, if you had a Jake Dennis card that doesn't quite fit right with his card, might not necessarily perform as well as someone that has something slightly different. So I love that factor. So just one more question. Sorry, Stefan, go on.
I just want to add something. For me as a kind of listener right now, it sounds super complicated, right? And you just repeated, there's so much stuff you can do. The good thing is you don't have to do, right?
Yes.
You can just like use cars and drivers that don't fit at all, and still it works, right? It's just like those games where you really want to get the last bits and pieces, right? Where you create your table on site and say, okay, this conditions, this car, this driver, perfect. And for if you really want to go that deep, you can do that. But no worries. It also works if you just put in your team or your free team, and you get going and you do your experience one after another, right? So don't get over confused. It's pretty much straightforward. You can go a few levels deep if you wish so.
In game development, we always talk about easy to pick up, hard to master. And definitely this genre is actually really on point of that, right? Like if you want to be super nerd about numbers and min-maxing your strategies and all that, we are allowing you to do that. But if you're more of a casual player and you want, to just engage with your favorite drivers, you will be able to do that too. We are not expecting you to be a wizard of numbers, but there's a competition for those guys too in the game.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I think it's really, and it reflects real motorsport as well. You can go and jump in a car and do laps around the track, but if you really want to maximize, the your lap time and your speed and everything, you really need to go into the telemetry and find every little millisecond, which is
Exactly.
for me at least, when I was racing, that was something that I loved, that side of things. So all right, I think we've kept our viewers waiting long enough. I think we're going to show them something, I believe, as a world exclusive right here on the Rev Show. We're going to play the teaser trailer for you guys for the first time. So here we go. There you go. That is the trailer for Formula E High Voltage, guys. That final screen there, 2 Kiwis and a Brit. Funny little driver sandwich there, but yeah, it's super cool. The trailer looks awesome. There's a slight gameplay snippet there, but now I want to throw it over to Kieran, because I'm sure there's a lot of things I want to ask him about Formula E. So yeah, Kieran, I think some people listening may not know a lot about Formula E. It's not as kind of, let's say, as sort of maybe as popular, as big as some of the other motorsports, but is definitely one of the most exciting and fastest growing motorsports out there. I know, I've seen countless of kind of crazy highlight clips that really, I think all motorsport fans, if you guys aren't already watching Formula E, definitely go and check it out. So yeah, so why is Formula E so exciting?
Yeah, great. I mean, firstly, before I answer that, so cool to see the trailer. I literally saw it 30 seconds before we went live, and yeah, very excited by it. So it really is a world exclusive for those watching. So yeah, Formula E. I mean, as I mentioned, I've been here for 2 seasons, and we've only just finished season 9. So for us as a motorsport to be kind of as big as we are, which is right there, obviously Formula One is the market leader, but right there behind Formula One in only 9 seasons, given they've got about 70 years of legacy, it's quite impressive, to be honest. And it's been a crazy entrepreneurial journey for those who started Formula E to get it to where it is now. I mean, we went from being that we are the world leading single-seater electric motorsport, all electric, and going from season 1 where they had people jumping out of cars and jumping in the other one because they couldn't last a race, to where we are now with the Gen 3 car, which is a serious machine. It's very quick and just broke the indoor speed record at our London race. So no car has ever gone as quick as we did indoors before, and it was really quick. It's like 220 Ks or something. It's crazy. But yeah, so Formula E has grown extremely quickly, and I think the main reason for that is there's a focus from the organization on two things really, which is racing and reason. So what that means is neither of those things are compromised. So when it comes to racing, we're trying to build the best sporting product possible so that it's super exciting, engaging, and people ultimately want to watch it and be entertained. And then the other side, we have the reason that Formula E exists, which is ultimately to promote sustainable human progress. So that's obviously a very hot topic at the moment, and is great to have a company that's literally kind of founded on that, those principles. And we have an entire sustainability department that is checking everything we do to make sure it fits with our company values. On the sporting product side, which is maybe a bit more of the sexier side, we have some really cool pieces to our sporting product that that others can't replicate, that will feature in the high voltage game, etc. Things like attack mode, which is essentially your Mario Kart boost going off the racing line to go and grab a boost, and we do that in real life, which is really cool to see, and adds a whole different element to our racing. As I say, that will be a feature in the game. So we have things like that. There's other things to our sporting products, like our qualifying format, which is kind of head-to-head duels based. So instead of cars just going out on track and trying to set their fastest lap, we actually put two drivers head-to-head, trying to set one and done lap. And if you happen to mess up one corner, well, that's you out of qualifying. So way more interesting from a sporting product perspective. And yeah, as I say, not other sports don't do that. So I think because of that, we've really built a great product first and foremost. Obviously, there's a little bit of catching up to do across the years of getting as much, I suppose, household household known from that perspective. But I think given where the product's at, given how long it's been around, given how quickly it's growing and gaining a fan base, the signs are extremely positive for Formula E, and we'll only keep growing into the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's very exciting. The races that I've watched have been fascinating. You guys were in Hong Kong a few years ago, and I actually went to a couple of the races, which was awesome. But you guys just put on such a great show. From the hospitality area to the actual the fan zone and everything, all of it is just really well done. Now before we jump into the next question, or while we jump into the next question, I'm actually going to roll some gameplay footage in the background because we have mentioned it a couple times.
Cool.
So I'm gonna chuck that up on screen now. So here we are. We are in London. Here's a little bit of gameplay that I recorded a couple days ago. So yeah, enjoy that while we move on to the next question. But this is the first official game that Formula E has been a part of, and it's a game that's it's a game that's powered by the Flow blockchain, and it features digital assets in the game. And I know digital assets, or NFTs, especially this time last year, received a lot of criticism around its energy consumption, and kind of going back to that topic on sustainability. Being on the Flow blockchain, which is one of the most energy efficient chains out there. So I'm going to throw some stats at you, Kieran, about the Flow blockchain, because I know a lot of people ask why Flow. So if we look at in terms of minting an NFT on Flow, how much energy that requires. So minting an NFT on Flow requires less energy than an Instagram post. One Google search is the equivalent of 12.5 Flow NFTs minted. A 1 minute hot shower is 3 182,000 Flow NFTs minted, for example. And the list goes on. So I think it's pretty clear to see that Flow is obviously has great synergies with Formula E, and hence, why we're building on Flow. So how important is it to an organization like Formula E, especially given your mission statement, to be building on a chain that supports these initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, our whole piece around that is net zero since day zero, so not even day one, because the whole concept of Formula E was born out of this passion for sustainability and promoting electric cars, etc. And ultimately, net zero, which you hear a lot now, a lot of companies are making what are potentially false promises around when they're going to be net zero, and ultimately it's just trying to negate the greenhouse gases that human activity is producing. So we're trying to reduce emissions, implementing methods of absorbing carbon dioxide where we use it, with offsetting programs, etc. And so it's super important when we do something like this that we ultimately run it through that that check. Is this going to be sustainable? There are people at Formula E that are way smarter than me on this topic, I will say. I'm the gaming guy, not the sustainability guy, but obviously, when you join Formula E, it's part of your values, and it's great to buy into. But yeah, there are many people who check everything I'm doing to make sure it's all fits the company values.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And just so you guys know, I take cold showers. But moving, I guess, into really something that is your bread and butter, and that is esports. For those of you guys who don't know, Kieran started an esports team called Excel, and obviously with things like play and earn and a lot of the way that Web3 games are set up, there's a lot of good sort of parallels and synergies between esports and sort of Web3 and kind of what Web3 tokenization, player earnouts and stuff like that can enable. So yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your esports journey and what you think that how that can tie into Web3 and blockchain gaming?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually broadcasting from Excel's HQ in London today, so I'm still a shareholder and involved with the company to some extent, outside of my day to day with Formula E. So still very much keeping tabs on the esports scene. From my perspective, I mean, I love competitive gaming. It's something I've always done. It's a passion of mine to this day. I was never really good enough to be an esports player, which is why I started a company and employed them instead. But I enjoy it nonetheless. And, I think this notion of, and, this is my, I mean, to be clear, this is my personal opinions. This notion of play to earn, I think, needs to take a little bit of a backseat. I love the idea of Web3 gaming and the ability for you to, for the time that you spend and the amount of competitions you enter or whatever, to be able to attribute a genuine monetary value to the effort you've put in. It's kind of value for value, quid pro quo. You want to know what the skin on your character is worth or whatever, right? I think that's awesome, and I'm all for that. But I think the notion of play to earn kind of is limiting in that you're essentially marketing to people who are playing to make money, which there will be people out there to do that, of course. That's natural, but actually the reason most of us play video games is because we enjoy them, and they're a release for us, and we want to keep coming back and playing more and playing more because we love it. Now, if on top of that, for the God knows how many hours I've spent on World of Warcraft, I know what value my items are worth, etc., and they are all tradable to some extent, and I have a bit more kind of control over my digital footprint. I think that's awesome. I'm all for that, and I think that's really great. But I don't want to be marketed to as a play to earn game at all. That's not what I'm kind of in this for. So and I completely respect that there's some really cool stuff from player earnouts and smart contracts and all of that. I think that that it could be a game changer. So yeah, all for it, but I don't like the notion of play to earn. That's basically my view on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a sentiment that's echoed by a lot of us is that we need to start moving away as an industry away from that play to earn narrative, and play to own, for example, is something that I think is much more powerful. The ability to, let's say, in Formula E, for example, if you were to race and there was a progression system where you would be able to, earn higher tiered cars or better equipment as you went through, I think that's something that's much more powerful than just playing for the for the fact of earning some tokens or whatnot. So Kieran, thank you so much for those answers. It was great to hear on your views on the sustainability side and also the kind of Web3 side as well. I will continue practicing Valorant because I want to join your esports org. But besides that, guys, thank you all so much. Stefan, thank you for all your insights into the development of the game. David, thank you so much for that very, very detailed insight on the gameplay. Any final thoughts before we go? Stefan, do you want to start?
Let's rock this, right? Let's ship it and let's see what people think about it. It has been in the kind of basement in development, unseen for 1.5 to 2 years now. I think everyone wants it out, and I can also agree on what you guys just said. So maybe 10 more seconds on that. I only want to emphasize that I think there's a cool chance for blockchain meets gaming, right? There's cool stuff like owning stuff, renting out stuff. So many cool things that you as a gamer, I mean, like also a gamer for the past 30 years, right? And I loved the gaming back then, but I can also see this very nice future of gaming coming. So let's see what comes next. And happy that everyone is here and talks about this product.
Yeah, all I'd add to that is feedback is a privilege at this stage. So very much looking forward to getting this game out and seeing what the community think about it. But yeah, please do give us your feedback. And this is a big step for Formula E into this world. And we think we're getting a lot of it right. We think the team here are doing an awesome job, and it's going to be a great game. But obviously, we know there's going to be bits that we can do better. So yeah. Please do give your feedback in a constructive way, preferably.
David, any final thoughts?
Yeah, like for me, kind of resonating or echoing the same. We are a player-centric company. We really want to hear your feedback. We really want to make this game the best game for you as a community. We want you to be part of the development in some way, shape, or form. So definitely feel free to tag us, to find us on social media, to find us on the Discord channels. We are on the Discord channels for the REVV Motorsport Discord server. So definitely that's something that we are looking forward on this first release to start iterating over what makes sense for the community.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you everyone for that. I'm very excited to finally get my hands on it. I know I've been playing around with it a little bit already, but yeah, can't wait for you guys, the community, who I know a lot of you guys have been in eager anticipation of this game. So yeah, can't wait for you guys to see it very soon. And I will say bye to our guests for now, but I'm going to stay on for 30 seconds because I have a little request from the community. But yeah, Stefan, Kieran, David, thank you guys so much for being on the show today, and hope to see you guys back on the show very soon.
For sure. Thanks for having us, Matt.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Cheers.
having us.
See you guys. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And this will be obviously posted on YouTube as well. So guys, make sure to check that out. Before I go, I want to post a comment in the comment section, obviously. But it is a link to a form, Google form. We're running a survey. So you guys can give us some feedback on the kind of content you want to see moving forward. So yeah, everyone, thanks for listening. And yeah, any feedback, comments, make sure you jump into the Discord or hit us up on Twitter, both at Formula E High Voltage and at REVV Motorsport as well. As always, make sure you guys like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any future videos. Until next time, keep revving.